What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Watchtime. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think, pretty much everyone's going to be familiar with. You guys as an audience, me as a channel who's actually been a part of one, Grace is someone who's kind of been on the more management behind the scenes side. It's a topic we've talked about specifically in regards to Click, but today I think we're keen to go a little bit more general, which is the topic of YouTube groups. When you get a whole bunch of YouTubers coming together, you've seen it with the Click House, you've seen it with stuff like Team 10. YouTube groups are all over YouTube. They're coming in all shapes and sizes, and today we're going to delve into the pros, the cons, the wins, the losses, the other stuff. Yeah, anyway, hi, I'm here with my sister Grace. She's CEO of Click Management, and my name is Muselk. I'm a YouTuber with, oh my God, I'm so close to being able to say 9 million subscribers.
Oh
right
my
now,
gosh, I'm so excited.
Right now, it's still 8. And give me 1 week.
Will it be by next week, though? Will it be by next week?
I think it'll be, everyone hold me to this. Hopefully at the start of the next Watchtime episode, you'll be hearing a 9 million flex. I think
Yes.
I'll
bring the balloons.
I think I'm 70,000 away. And I reckon, especially with the new season dropping, I can do 10K a day. I can do that.
I was checking your social blade yesterday, actually, because I was like, damn, everyone's having a fair bit of growth at the moment. Like Tanner's about to hit 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Ilsa's about to hit 100,000, which is just crazy given she's done like 3 videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a month of milestones for a bunch of people.
Yeah, like for me, all I can think is that, I feel like it's going to be way easier to grow while everyone's still stuck home. And obviously people are starting to no longer be stuck at home. So you gotta take advantage of the growth when you can.
It's like, now is the time.
Now is the time. I got to get as close to 10 as I can before everyone goes back to living their normal life.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed by next week we're there.
We can pray.
All right. So, guys, influencer houses, YouTube houses, influencer collectives, I feel like they don't even need to be in the same house anymore. They're blowing up at the moment with a whole new wave of influencer houses at the moment. I feel like with the Hype House and the Sway House, are they joining forces? Who knows?
I have not heard about either of these.
They're the biggest TikTok houses.
Yeah.
So their influence is insane. They have like the D'Amelios, they have Addison Rae, they have like a bunch of the big TikTok stars. And actually last week, I believe they just moved into the old FaZe house, which is kind of funny because it makes you realize like that maybe there aren't that many houses that can cater for like 10 bedrooms and that sort of thing in LA. So
and also,
they're all just recycling through them.
Yeah. And also, hey, that $20 million house that you just built, can we chuck like 10, 20-year-olds who are keen to basically just throw parties all week in there? That's good. Yeah. Okay, great. I don't think many people really go for that.
Well, yeah. On that note, I think some people broke into the old Hype House and there was still like a bunch of shit there, which was reminiscent of, I was like, memories of the Click House when we ran one. There was still so much crap there left
just
at the
like
end
mess.
of it. Yeah. And I think they're still paying rent for it. They must have had a bit of like overlap time, but
it's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice when
been
TikTok's
to that FaZe house or the new Hype House. We've been to a few parties there, so I was seeing the videos and I was like, memories.
I thought that's interesting because I saw that FaZe moved recently, but I thought they were still in the same, that they got that in like addition to the houses that they had. But that's interesting that they took over the old ones. Kind of cool.
Yeah. So yeah, but today we're going to break down, firstly, I think why creator collectives and houses are so good for the influencers. And then we'll move to brands and we'll move for why audiences love them as well. And obviously, Elliot and I started a creator house a couple of years ago now called the Click House, which I think a bunch of you know about. We've spoken about it on previous episodes. And that was a house that we started in Sydney, Australia, with 6 of the biggest Fortnite channels at the time. We started a group channel that grew very, very rapidly to 2 million subscribers in a period of a couple months. And we wound down sort of production on that a few months ago. But it definitely gave us a very good behind the scenes insight into what it takes to run these, which is harder than what it might appear on the surface. So I'm really keen to sort of talk about this with our experience having done it, and then also obviously seeing a bunch of them online as well. But firstly, Elliot, benefits of creator houses for the creators themselves. Like, do you want to just go high level on that for a second.
Yeah, because I was actually going to say, I think one interesting distinction between what we did with Click and I guess kind of what places like FaZe do is we had that community hub channel. Whereas I know a lot of these collab guys, they might have a community hub channel, but they don't really have a production team or any organization behind it. A lot of them don't even have that at all. It's just kind of like their audiences know that they all live together. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of benefits. I mean, there's benefits in a business sense. There's benefits in a kind of personal life sense, which is that I think a lot of the time when you're a creator, number one, it can be very solitary. I can't speak for TikTok people, but it's a lot of work. So a lot of the time you're really kind of hunkered down, focused for a lot of the day. So kind of being in a communal space.
A little shady.
What?
You saying it's not hard work for the TikTokers?
No. I'm saying the lifestyle. I'm saying that TikTokers look like they go out and do a bit more stuff. But as a gaming YouTuber, I'm not going out recording TikToks on a beach. I'm in my room staring at a screen. No, I think TikTok's probably way more work, man. I can't imagine trying to come up with that many like ideas a day. Or unless you're just a dancing person. But anyway, now I feel like I'm throwing shade. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of benefit in just the sense of having kind of like collaborative work environment, because I think typically it's very, very solo. I think there's also just the element of it's pretty fun to like live with people who are like-minded and friendly, and you're all kind of on the same wavelength.
Totally.
Like I think
that was something that I feel like with the Click House was immediately obvious. Was you guys previously would have gone from spending 12 to 14 hours a day just in your office at home online, and of course it's like social, you're talking to friends online and that sort of thing, but it's a very independent career. You're not getting feedback from anyone else. You're not able to easily bounce ideas off. And I think that was something that we found starting the Click House was amazing, was you'd walk in and it'd just be like everyone in the kitchen talking about ideas or looking at YouTube videos and analyzing that person's thumbnail or title strategy or all of that sort of thing. And it was so nice to have a bunch of like-minded people that can understand and relate to what you do and can inspire you as well. Like, how many times do you feel like each of you were inspired to go create or make a video because the other person was, and you were like, oh, I don't just want to sit around in the living room if I know everyone else is working hard? Yeah, no,
100%. I think, I mean, basically to sum it up, I'd say there are the business benefits, like when we'd all huddle around thinking about ideas, or we'd be like, oh, it'd be really fun to do duos right now, and I'll knock on Craig's door and he'll be like, yeah, I'm keen. Or, and then there's also just like the social benefits, which are, like everyone suddenly developing the keenness, like go to the gym together, or a lot of people who would normally be more introvert, really, really hard to get out of the house. Suddenly they're in an environment where they got me there being like, yo, guys, let's go out right now, pool club, have some drinks. It's going to be a good time. And then I think it brings out a lot of the best between people and then pushes it on to others.
Okay, what I want to drill into now, though, is the business benefits of this. Yeah. So it's all nice to like live with your friends, whatever. But what are the real tangible benefits that come from being in a group? Because there's a number. And the first one I want to talk about is that cross-pollination of audiences. And this was something that we noticed immediately when we started the Click House. We kicked off the channel with a giveaway, and one entry mechanism of the giveaway was that everyone had to follow everyone in the house. And that was part of it. It was also just part of the fact that suddenly you were having like Bazza on a video with Laserbeam, or Kath with a video with Elliot, and their audiences that might have known just you or Laserbeam suddenly were finding all of these smaller creators as well. And I believe in the first week of the Click House, everyone's social accounts grew by 150,000.
Yeah. I think it once again, I think with it all depends. I think, if someone like maybe Lannon and to a slightly lesser extent me, there isn't as much benefit there, because realistically what you're doing when you put everyone into a house is you're getting everyone's different viewers and you're mixing them into a pot, and you're like letting everyone see each other. So obviously if you're bringing Ladin, for example, probably relative to everyone else's viewers, assuming that we all have the same, him and me have a lot of sub crossover, is already has 90% of that pot that knows who he is and is looking at his channel. He doesn't stand to gain as much. But I think where you really see a lot of benefit, and I think you did see that quite a bit, is with, I think like Cray, for example, was a good example.
Yeah.
You put
Kath.
him...
If you go back and look at Kath's Social Blade from September 2018, like that graph just goes boom.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Is that when we started the house, September? I totally forgot what month.
Yeah, September.
Really? Okay, you got a way better memory than me. Yeah.
But yeah, for those smaller channels,
wow.
it just means immediate like explosion. Are you looking at that graph now?
Yeah, there's like a very sudden 90-degree upward tick. Yeah, and I think
and same for Cray and Baz, I think. I think that's like an immediate thing, is if you're a small creator and you're going into a group that has bigger creators, you will benefit from this. I think this is something that FaZe does very, very well in terms of the value proposition that they offer, is that it's like, hey, if you're a small player or a small creator, join FaZe, and those creators just immediately will gain a couple 100,000 followers, and it just can start them on a trajectory that they wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. Yeah,
100%. I think the biggest thing with YouTube is when you're on that smaller tier. Actually, I feel like every tier has this like, I always think of YouTubers in like tiers. There's like the 0 to 100,000 kind of mark, where you're kind of like, micro level, or 0 to 200,000. Then there's that when you start getting like more around the million mark, there's that medium size. Then there's like when you're getting closer to 10 million. And then there's like, obviously the giants like Mr. Beast. But I feel like to get from each into the next level, you always seem to need a kick. Right?
Yeah.
Like I know for me, like there was a real stalling point before I hit 1 million. And then when I was at 1 million, it was a real stalling point before I then suddenly got the Fortnite kick. And then that got me to 8. And I think that's pretty constant. And I think that what these houses can do is be a really good way to kind of give people that like kick and that like starter momentum you need to really get into the algorithm and start actually kind of like slamming through goals. Obviously you need to
100%.
you can't just be like, oh, I moved into a house, now I'm just going to sit around and wait for my 10 mil. You've got to like, you get the kick, you then need to put in the work and the effort and keep on uploading so that traction continues. But yeah, I mean, long story short, definitely growth, huge.
So the next one I want to talk about is the ongoing relevancy, though. And I think there are a number of examples here. But basically, over the life cycle of a creator, everyone's going to go through highs and lows and peaks and troughs, and you'll come through points where you're really viraling and you'll go through points where you're not. And that's normal. It's absolutely a normal part of a life cycle of a creator. And when those times come and go, no one really knows. But I think what can be an amazing benefit of being part of a group is that if you are still in that group and you're still part of group content, if that content channel has a group channel, then those peaks and troughs just aren't going to be as big. And when you want to come back and when you want to be peaking again, it's going to be much, much easier to pick it up, because your trough is never going to be as low as it would be if you were just on your own. So one channel that I think does this super well is the Sidemen. And the Sidemen have obviously been doing the Sidemen for like 6 or 7 years now.
Ages.
So long. And they've had a relatively consistent group the whole time. But through that time, each of those individuals have gone through some peaks and troughs with their own channel. And some of them have taken at times like a few months off filming and recording and uploading for their individual channels. But I feel like because they're part of that super strong, powerful group channel and they've been in those videos consistently, when they upload and when they upload well, those videos just pop because they're coming off such a high base. They're coming off the fact that so many people are keeping their name in their minds. Yeah. And that's just so critical with YouTube, I think, because people do can lose relevancy quickly.
Oh yeah, people forget about you
uploading.
In an instant, dude. People are brutal. Like obviously you still have, and that's not to say that you won't always have fans who will love you and care about you and be always keen to see your videos. But I think it's that, if you look at your audience, say, if your audience is 100,000 people, maybe, or even say your audience is 1 million people, say there's 10% that are absolutely dedicated. That's, 100K. maybe another 10% who like, like they're always keen. That's like, 200K. But honestly, like if you're real with yourself, for the vast majority of people, and I can say this about a lot of YouTubers that I have absolutely loved over the years, like after a while, if that person's not putting out the content that you're looking for, you will go and find other places. You need something that keeps them like ticking over and like relevant in your mind. And that is, that's exactly what those groups are.
Yeah, it's the reason why a lot of creators, I think, struggle mentally with the job of YouTube because they feel the constant pressure to keep uploading.
Yeah.
And people are like, take a break, take a holiday, take a month off. And it's like, well, I can't, because if I take a month off, people will forget about me. And then when I come back, the algorithm won't push my name and recommend it as much. And therefore, I will have lost a whole heap of the hard work that I've been putting in over the last few months. And yeah, so I think the need, if you have the ability to keep your name popping up in people's recommended through a group channel, then it really, really can help the longevity of your own channel, I think.
100%. If you've got like an audience of millions on a group channel where you're still keeping your name relevant and fresh, then yeah, you can take 3-4 months break, come back, and people will still be like, oh, he's back, because they still care about you. They still they're still engaging with your personality through those group videos. So yeah, 100%. I think that's 100%. One of the best things about groups.
And then the second sort of area that I want to go into, and there's a little bit of crossover, but it's the benefits for brands. And there's one benefit I think here where it really crosses over, but sponsorships are obviously a really big part of a lot of creators' income. They get paid, yes, off YouTube, but they also get paid a lot off sponsorships. And one thing that I think is really, really good for brands is the fact that they suddenly get a potential cross-pollination if they're able to work with a collaborative group. We had this experience quite a bit throughout the Click House with us. We were able to work with some incredible brands, like KFC, for example, was I think one of the main ones where they were very, very attracted to the idea that Click was its own little mini brand and it was a sub-brand. And they weren't as interested in sponsoring individual creators, but they were very, very interested in working with a collective.
I feel like kind of like the difference between sponsoring a footy team versus sponsoring like an individual footy player,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good example, but yeah.
No, I think that's a great example. It's like sponsoring a team. And for them, I think as well, like one thing that brands can get a little bit nervous about sponsoring individual creators is the fact that they're just a person, and brands like KFC are absolutely like anal about making sure that their brand is presented in the right light. Yeah. And sometimes working with an individual creator can be a little bit risky for a brand because they're nervous. They're like, God, this person could go off the rails. They could say something else. They might have another opinion that we don't agree with as a brand. Whereas I feel like if you're working with a collective or you're working with a group, generally that group is going to be a little bit more brand friendly and a little bit more polished than what an individual creator themselves might have.
Yeah,
so I think
more predictable.
There's a lot of benefit there. More predictable.
Because it's a blend of what everyone is versus like someone's like crazy spin-off in either direction.
Who knows what they could do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then for the creators, obviously, they're getting exposure to a bunch of brands that they never would have before. Certainly with the Click House, we had Click sponsorships that would never have happened for the individual members if it wasn't for the group that was able to sell against them.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a massive one. And then the audiences. This is what I want to talk about. Why do audiences love groups? What's your like high level analysis?
I mean, I can speak to it from the Click side because I think the reason, like the clear obvious answer with something like Click is, I mean, number one, just top line, I think people always love group content. They love banter between people. It's the same way that on people's own individual level, it's fun to hang out with friends. You get fun things going back and forward. You get to, and especially when you've got a bunch of personalities who like their whole thing is to be entertaining all day, every day, make jokes, have fun. When you put all them together, a lot of the time it's going to lead to a good spot. But I think also, I think the big thing with, I think Phase is a good example to a point. I think Click is a good example as well. And definitely Sidemen is you get to, a lot of the time you watch a YouTuber because it's a personality that you love. But say with someone like my channel or Lannon's channel, 99.9% of what you're going to see is, hey, is like this. it's this like stationary face cam and we're playing Fortnite. And it's still, there's still the personality and the banter. But the cool thing about, like what we did with Click and what, FaZe does with their stuff and what Simon did with theirs is that it's like a whole new like gateway into accessing personalities that you like. You get to see them in a whole new light. You get to see them doing completely different things. You get to see a different side of their personality as well. Like there's things that you learn about Cray from, the Click videos that you wouldn't necessarily know as much if you just watched his YouTube videos or his streams. Like, for example, how he always bitches about his asthma. He still does that a little bit on stream, but you hear about it a hell of a lot more when we're running around a paintball field.
Yes.
So and then that, but I almost think that fed back into his main content. I don't think he used to talk about it on stream as much, but because it became a thing through the Click videos, then his audience started engaging with it and would give him crap, and then he started talking about it more on stream. And I think that was like a cool like evolution, where there's that feedback between the two.
Yeah, 100%. I think it gives people more of that person's personality. And that ultimately is why I think people love watching creators in the first place, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. People like getting invested into someone else's personality. It's like you're becoming friends with that person in a way. And so making sure that being able to see how that person actually interacts with other people just exposes so much more of their personality. So you feel like you know them better.
Yeah. No. That's actually a really good point. I think it's like, it's almost like, oh, this is what it would be like to be friends with that person.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like, definitely, I think the videos that we saw that did best on the Click channel were oftentimes not the most highly produced or like craziest videos, but they were the videos where people could really watch everyone interact. They were the like, who knows who's best, or like the couples challenge one did really well, or like the Google autocomplete video did extremely well.
Yeah.
And there are videos where you get to see everyone interact a little bit more and find out more about everyone's personalities. And I think that was, to me, the key thing that people love.
Yeah.
And there's like other elements to that as well. I think people love the drama of it. I think it's much more like a reality TV show when there are multiple characters involved. And I think like you see that play out with FaZe for sure. The Sidemen seem to keep that offline a little bit more, but I think FaZe, people know Banks. They know his girlfriend. They know his friends. They know what's happening with FaZe Rain on Twitter, and it's all playing out in such a public setting. Same with the Hype House as well. Like, it seems like everyone's dating everyone and this person's fighting with this person. And,
I need to like look more into the Hype House. I literally haven't seen anything about it.
You need to get on TikTok more.
I'm so
but
not
actually
on
don't
TikTok.
Because it'll ruin your life.
Yeah, okay,
it will take over.
That's
if
what I've
you're
heard.
not on TikTok right now, it will take up at least an hour of your day.
Yeah, okay. I'm definitely going to avoid it then.
But I think people love that. It's literally like a reality TV show. And yes, it can sound a bit like, I don't know, like vapid or light to say that the drama is an element of it. But I think it would be remiss not to mention the fact that people love seeing that in the way that they used to like reality TV. And I think reality TV is going down because there is real life reality TV happening. It's
100%.
not scripted.
Yeah, I think people know that YouTuber groups don't have nearly as much of like a, it's not like a lot of those reality TV shows you see on TV where there's a whole script and like giant production team and people saying, okay, but we need to like cover these emotional hit points for the week. A lot of the time you see like just crazy stuff happen because it's literally just people. There is no script. And I think that, you're right. People just want to they just want to get as much of it in them as they can of seeing like every single area of, these people whose lives you normally only get to see in a really one-dimensional way, which is like playing a video game on a computer. Suddenly you have access to see it in so many ways. Like, Lufu, when she started her vlog channel in the Click House, that absolutely popped off. That content was insanely popular because it was just like, oh my God, this is like another gateway into seeing what happens even more behind the scenes and even more kind of like, kind of candid than the content that was there.
Totally, totally. And I think, yeah, and it kind of goes back to that point we were talking about last week, where it's like everyone wants to see people that are living their lives in a way that is relatable, but slightly different to what other people are able to. And I think like content houses exemplify that 100%.
Yeah.
It's like these people are normal. Like the drama that's going on in their lives is the real drama that's going on in their lives for the most part. And they could see it happening to themselves, except they're like, these are influencers. Like these guys just go around and make content all day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's fascinating. And I think that is like undeniably a big part of it. But I'm really keen to hear like from you guys listening to this as well, like leave a comment or whatever and let us know like why you think that they're really interesting. Because obviously it's fun to see people collaborating. It's fun to see like the real life elements that shine through it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I'm just thinking about Lufu's vlog channel again and thinking about how ridiculously popular that content was. Like everything from like showing like where there was a night where, you know, a few too many drinks were had, or all that kind of thing. And just seeing how much people like just love seeing it. And obviously it's like objectively funny content. But there was also like certain vlogs where it was just like really just chill. Like nothing really that crazy happened. But people just love seeing it. Whether or not it's just people bantering back and forth, they still love it.
Yeah. I think it's a reality TV show. And in some ways, I think audiences love it because it's like a form of like voyeurism, I think. Can you use the word voyeurism not in a sexual context?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you know what I mean? Like what's an alternative word you can use?
No.
Yeah, I think it's like an
insight.
Yeah, I think it's like an insight into how other people are living their life. And there's like an inherently human element of that people love.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think, once again, I think obviously, like, the vast majority of being in those groups is good. But I think the weird thing is, with only a few exceptions, mainly when I think of it like FaZe and Sidemen, most of the time, those like group things, they never last forever. And I think, you know, Sidemen is probably the strongest example of one that's lasted because it's always just been that core group of 7 people. FaZe is a pretty good example, but obviously they're much, much bigger. People come, people go, and they're kind of like held together as like a giant mass with a few like core people behind it. But I think when you look at stuff like Team 10, I think that's an example of one that went catastrophically wrong. Then there's ones like, you know, like Click, our group, where it was just like, you know, everyone kind of did it for a year and was like, I think really vibed it the first 6 months. And then last 6 months were kind of like, oh, you know, like it's maybe not as great. And then tried to keep it going 6 months, probably longer than it should have. And then that was when it was like, okay, this is like maybe just not the vibe that everyone's wanting anymore.
So why is that? Because I think there's a lot of, while so much of what happens in influencer houses plays out publicly online, I think there's a whole element to it, which are the challenges that usually people don't get to see. And so what do you think, like, let's talk through some of the tough points around this.
I mean, like, I think we've really gone, I think, you know, I'm not going to use even Click as an example because I think we've done like basically 2 episodes going into the real nitty gritty of that. But I think if I was just going to top line it, it's the same reason that a lot of people will move into a share house with one of their best friends because they really want to live with them. And that a lot of the time, it doesn't always go well, you know, like it just doesn't always go fantastically. I think that realistically, being a YouTuber a lot of the time means you probably got a very strong personality, or I don't know, I would just say generally speaking, YouTubers I know for whatever reason, whether or not it's like a sense of entitlement that comes around having an audience validate you or whatever it is, I just think that generally speaking, YouTubers tend to be very, very kind of like hard-headed and not as compromise happy as I think most people are. And whether or not
I think, like, to put it shortly, you're putting a lot of very big personalities that are used to working by themselves and that oftentimes have big egos. It's not a bad thing. It's oftentimes quite necessary for the job. In a house together.
Yeah, like I'd say I'm someone who
illuminating the strengths and weaknesses of everyone.
Yeah, and I think I'm someone who like I try not to really have like a, you know, I feel like the part I play in a lot of my videos and the part I played definitely in like a lot of Click stuff was like, oh, you know, Elliot's got an ego, but I feel like generally like I try not to actually have that be something that I genuinely am. But I think that I definitely do still have one. I think that everyone who was in the Click House had one. I think that everyone, like pretty much every YouTuber in the office building, and to a degree, everyone I know has like a little bit of like a hard-headedness in them that comes from, it just seems to be a trait that I think most YouTubers end up developing at least to some degree. Doesn't mean you're still not a nice guy.
I think it's inevitable.
But
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah,
As
but
a
what it
big
means
creator,
when you're in a house, just when you're a big creator, you've got an audience telling you that you're great all the time and a whole bunch of different reasons. It just comes off that. It just happens to happen that way. But I think that ultimately where that really then can create problems when you have these groups happen is, I mean, once again, everything is so interconnected. You think about the problems that arise in a normal like share house that you might start with your friends. At the start, everything's great. Then it's like, hey, Michael, mate, you know, you left that yogurt cup out again for the 7th time this week. Can you move it? And then Michael goes into his room. He's like, freaking John always getting pissed at me about leaving my yogurt cups out. Like, it's not even that big a deal. He could just grab it and chuck it in the bin. And then, you know, like someone else is like, oh, you know, like, hey guys, like there's all this like rotten food lying around. Can we clean that up? And someone's like, oh my God, you know, like this person's so like, you know, got their finger up their butt where they just want everything to be perfectly clean all the time. It's ridiculous. And I just think that a lot of the time, obviously conflicts happen. And I think that the more hard-headed you are, probably the less easy and willing it sometimes is to find compromises there. But I also then think in those YouTuber entertainment houses, you have the added element of you're mixing business on top of those existing issues. So
totally.
Whether or not that's issues that come around like a collaborative community channel and, you know, I want to make this video, I don't want to make this video. Well, I know how to do content and you don't. And then all that kind of stuff, whether it's talking about how to like what people are contributing to that channel or whether it just comes about like, hey dude, you know, like, can you help me with this video today? No, sorry, I'm busy. And like, long story short, you're just mixing more and more potential danger elements in those groups, I think, with also a bunch of personalities that are, to a degree, a bit more susceptible to turning those areas into like hot points. And
100%. And then I think there's a bunch of logistical issues as well. And each of these...
The management speaking, ladies and gentlemen.
But there are a bunch of like, you know, and this is run differently from group to group, but there are major issues around who's paying for all of this? Because let me tell you, these houses are expensive with a capital E. Expensive.
I remember when we were looking at our balance sheet for the first year we did the Click House, and it was like the entire company, like all the other employees, office space, utilities, everything else that the company was like doing was like this, and then it was like this house that just had a bunch of YouTubers in it making one video a week for a group channel was like that, and it was like, oh my God, man, like money.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. And let me like point out some of the issues around it. Okay, yes, you're paying for rent. Are you paying for each person's individual food? Probably not a good idea because people eat all different things. Okay, the house is starting to get really messy. This is an issue for 3 people in the house and the other 3 people don't care, living in a pigsty. Who's paying for the cleaners? Who's doing that? Like, is everyone splitting that equally? Okay, what if you know that someone has 10 million subscribers versus someone has 500,000 subscribers? Is the person that has 10 million subscribers going to pay a little bit more? But therefore, if you're starting to make money out of the channel, does the person with 10 million subscribers also get paid out more or less? Or is it like everyone's showing up and putting in the same time, therefore everyone should get paid the same amount? I don't think so. That's just not how it works.
If someone misses a shoot, do they not get a cut from that shoot? If someone, you know, like, long story short, I think
there's a lot of issues. No, I don't mind talking about it. I want to like, I think it's really important to drill into that.
I 100% think there's a lot of issues. I think though that I feel like I was just going to direct people to go and watch the other episodes we've done where I think we delve quite deeply into the topic of issues like this, where they arise, how you can resolve them, how you can't resolve them, and where things can just inevitably like go really bad.
Yeah. I think like certainly you probably need to have an ideal situation would be that you have very, very clear expectations from the start. And it's like, this is how it's working. This is what the guidelines are. and that's how it's going to go down, and everyone agrees that that's how it is, that would be an ideal situation. But it's also much easier said than done, because you can have a situation where something might feel fair at the start, but then maybe someone experiences massive growth and they're contributing 90% of the audience that everyone else is getting. And then they're feeling like, hang on, like this doesn't feel fair anymore. Or this person has missed the last 3 shoot days. That doesn't feel fair anymore. So I think there's a number of issues that mean that creator houses in practice are very, very hard to implement in an effective way that runs over a long term. So I always, like, if I ever hear anyone doing a creator house or anything, I just have like so much respect, so much credit to them, because having been there, it's a challenge and a half, and the benefits can obviously be insane, but it is not without challenges for sure. So
not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like that's a good place to wrap it. What do you think? Guys, if you have questions on creator houses or influencer groups and you're watching on YouTube, you can pop them in the comments below, and I'm always there answering when the video goes live. If you're listening on an audio version, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening there, it really helps us with the algorithm and having other people be able to find the podcast.
And if you want to hear any more on this topic and go into a bit more depth, then go check out the episodes we've done talking about starting the Click House and kind of where the Click House wound down. Because we go into talking about a lot, like, more in depth of like logistical issues, personal issues, and also obviously all the benefits as well that we've covered in this episode too.
100%. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.